Juwan next to Don.
What's up, my STEEZ? Know what's going on? Yes, Lord.
Yes, indeed, back again for another year, 2025 AFL.
Year 5.
Year 5, indeed. That shit crazy.
Half a decade. Shit crazy as hell.
Team still last. I ain't never even seen the finals yet.
Well, I thought I was going to be saying that too, but 5 years later, here I am.
Hey, yeah. Annual, man. Any major predictions this year? Maybe not predictions, just what you're looking forward to this year.
First off, it seems like there's a lot more injuries to come into entering the season, so I'm interested in seeing how that's about to really affect where teams are at. Some teams benefit playing a lot of injury-riddled teams early on in the season, so I think the latter might not go as expected. Granted, it's pretty unpredictable to begin with, but I also think just the competition is getting more tight.
Yeah.
Teams fighting in the 8, there's just a little bit more teams fighting in, so yeah, I'm just excited to see where all the teams land.
For sure. A lot of injuries from preseason this year.
Yeah.
Like a lot of big names went down. Bart, Aaron Golden,
Tom Green.
Like, it's making me think like preseason, it's like they just not ready for it. Like, I understand your body got to get back game ready, but it seems like whatever they doing before the actual preseason game, like in practice, just ain't enough. And I don't know what to do about that. Or sure enough, at least a quarter, like you can do it like half a game. It just be seeming like too fast for a lot of people. I think the thing I'm looking forward to most this season, as a West Coast fan, it's probably going to be West Coast. I've been asking for a new coach, for young players. It seems like everything I've been asking for came together this year. And, like, this is a year we can really build on, like, a new identity and a new era for West Coast. So I'm real excited to see what West Coast does because, you know, West Coast all day, every day. But, hey, yeah, man, getting to the predictions. I did the prediction, like, on the AFL thing.
Yeah.
And I did it again. I wrote it down just more so off vibes. And my shit slid completely different.
I did have to edit mine a little bit. Some shit just didn't seem too realistic, but I guess we just get into it, man.
I'll just do 18 through 14. So, my 18, I got Richmond getting the wooden spoon once again. You know, boys, I don't think they got no better. It's going to be some tough time for Richmond coming up, but it happens to the best of us. 17, I got the Crows. They coming into this season with injuries. They was already kind of looking shaky last year, finishing near the bottom, so I keep them around there. 16, I got North moving up. North is also in like a new era phase right now where they're getting a lot of new players and a lot of things are looking different. So I got them boys right there. At 15, probably controversial, Saints. Saints are a team, even though they can start off the year looking really good, there's always those games that Saints are just going to win that you don't think they're going to win. And it's hard to account for those when you're doing predictions. So that's just kind of where they ended up for me. And it's not too much different from what they were last year. I don't think they made too many great additions. So, yeah.
So 18, I have Richmond as well. Mass exodus of players. I think it's, like you said, it's just going to take some time for them to get right. Struggled last year. Don't think it's going to get any easier this year, especially losing Liam Baker. Heart and soul of your team. Any team really struggles whenever you lose one of those. 17, I have the Dogs at the bottom 4. Really just because everybody knows, everybody's hurt.
Yeah.
The Bont's hurt at least 6 weeks. Knowing footy, it can definitely extend a little bit longer than that. Not only that, they lost Caleb Daniel. They lost, like, over the last couple of years, they just lost players.
Yeah.
And they have Liam Jones hurt, Tim English hurt. Vittori was looking a little shaky after the head injury. Lost Jack McCray.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of question, I think, surrounding the club. Even when your coach, Luke Beveridge, was making questionable decisions over the club. So I could be way wrong on this. I think it's going to be rough considering the impact that Bont has as a player, individual player himself. So I have them dropping, struggling for a large portion of the season. 16, I have Essendon. Essendon kind of made me look a little stupid last year. I think I had them pretty low last year. They made me look foolish, so I'll give them a little bit more grace this year and put them at 16. I'm not really too impressed with them. I think their midfield's still kind of small. I don't know. I just don't really believe in them like that. At 15, I have West Coast. I think they'll improve on the win numbers this season. Like you were saying, pretty much mirror everything you were saying. They definitely have more of an identity, more of a direction that they're going. They lost a couple more old players that they were hanging on to. Lost Adam Simpson, who really trying to let the old players go out in glory, I guess you could say. But he was really, I feel like he was doing right by the players more so than the club. Yeah, I expect a little bit more from your younger players. Jimby looked like he put on a lot of weight, a lot of muscle, so I could tell he's been in the gym working, and I'm expecting some more skill improvement from a couple of your players, and definitely the effort's going to go up, as we've seen in preseason against North.
So moving on, 14 through 11. On 14, I got Essendon. Like you said, they're not too impressive. This team, this is really all based off vibes. They kind of really just fell into place. I really didn't have, a reason for them. They're kind of just there as a footy team, like you said. Nothing really too impressive, but not at the bottom. They have a decent squad. Like I can see them definitely winning games, but definitely not, making no impact like that.
I think the draft picks just haven't improved enough.
And they have a lot of young names that you would think would get better over time, but that is very true. All right, so next I got West Coast all day, every day. Okay, like you were saying, man, a lot of young players. I guess we're just mirroring each other with the West Coast talk, man. Just a lot of young players, a lot to look forward to. I'm just gonna move on. Next at 12, I got Gold Coast Suns with their new logo that a lot of people seem to not like. The Suns, I feel like they're here for me because they always disappoint me, bro. I feel like they have the talent to be higher, but they never been to the finals at all. I don't know. It's just they got some type of curse that just stops them from making the 8. So that's where they're falling for me. Next, unfortunately, I got Frio. As much as I want to hate Frio, man, unfortunately, their team does look good. They do move the ball very well. Their pressure is good. They can definitely be a threat. But, I'll never put them in the 8 in my predictions.
That's how I be doing, isn't it? 14, I have the Saints. They're just not that impressive. Like you were saying earlier, they do have games that they pick up, that they win, but they're just a very inconsistent team. They have a couple injuries that they're battling as well. They lost Membry this past season. I don't think they're really that good, man. They're okay. They're decent. But you can't have a large disparity between your top talent and your lower level talent. So I think that's really the position that they're in. 13, I got Gold Coast. I'm kind of iffy on them. They've gotten better the last couple of years. They're getting closer and closer to pushing for finals. But sometimes they start the season pretty strong. But as the season goes on, they start to drop games. I don't think they really have a great home ground advantage or anything that they could really rely on. I think other teams just improved a little bit more, so they kind of just fell in the pecking order where they're at. 12, I have North. North jumped pretty high, large improvement. I think they're just a little bit like a step ahead compared to y'all. Mm-hmm. Not saying talent-wise, but just as far as being intentional, the direction of the club.
I can see that for sure.
They'll have another year under their coach. I'm expecting some jumps in the young talent that they have. Sheasel, I'm expecting him to play more midfield than halfback, so throw him into the guts. McKercher and Wardlaw, and then they got some more veteran talent this year too as well with Luke Parker and Caleb Daniel and Jack Darling, and I think they definitely struggle with that, especially even the second option up forward to support Nick Larkey. So I think that they definitely plugged some holes that they had in their roster, and I'm looking forward to them to making a jump. They can be a dangerous team, and they will catch some teams off guard if they want to treat them like the team that they were the last couple of years. And 11, I have Geelong. They can make me pay every time. Dangerfield's getting another year older. I know he has made a great impact when he plays, but it's just the fact that he's injury prone. They added Bailey Smith as well, and maybe I'll be off base of picking him this low, but I just think the teams the players that they had that carried them to the greatness that they were experiencing over the last couple of years, they're just losing a little bit, and adding some of the more newer players is just not quite the same exact Geelong that we've been seeing over the years. But at the end of the day, they have that home ground advantage, and that other team can't seem to shake. So I want to preface too, though, with these spots, there's only a 1 or 2 game difference with these teams. So all it takes is maybe to win 1 or 2 games, and then you're in the 8 versus 11. So I want you to know that as I'm going forward with my list.
Yeah, I learned to never count the cats out, man. That shit tough. I feel like the age argument be every year, and they always just overcome.
Yeah.
But all right, going into my 10. I got the Dogs. I ain't gonna lie, I think it's fair that they that high. I know they injury riddle right now, but they're gonna come back for injury. I think they got a lot of hard games early on in the season too to knock out the way while they're getting back. So when their players do get back, they might walk into some easy games and then catch stride towards the end. That's kind of what I'm betting on right now. Still not making the 8, but I think Bev is under a lot of pressure right now. And the fact that he has to switch his strategy, I think a lot of people say he's, no plan B Bev. I think with the current situation, he's going to have to switch his plan. I still think he has enough talent to make something work. And with all the pressure on him, I think if he doesn't make something work, he's out the door. So I think the players are going to want to play for him really hard this year. I really like the rookie Davidson. He made a big impact in the preseason game. I'm curious if that's going to transfer over for him. And hopefully it does for my fantasy sake. But yeah, I got the Dogs sitting at 10 right now. At 9, just missing the 8, I got the Pies. The talent's just going to be there. It's just, I feel like Pies have a hard time finishing out games. This wasn't one of them ones that was just by a game or by percentage really on my list. So they could have been in the 8, but I don't see them being the top 8. I definitely see them around this 9, 8 range. So that's just where they ended up.
Picking up where I left off at 10, I have Melbourne. This was a hard pick for me because you have Petrarca, you have Clayton Oliver, you have Jack Viney, and just that alone in the midfield is enough to contend. They lost Jacob Van Rooyen, so I'm not sure how long he is out, but I think that's important since he emerged as the lead forward going forward over there. And we know that in past years that they haven't really had that number one key forward that they can go to. It's been Fritsch a lot of the times as their leading goal scorer, passed, and I don't think that's really what you want, even though he is decent. I think based off what I've seen in preseason, they still seem to have a goal-scoring issue as far as being accurate in front of goal, and that sometimes can get you. Structurally, their defense has been good. It's just if Clayton Oliver returns to form to how he was pre-2024, I think they will make the 8. I don't know, man. I'm just not all the way convinced yet. I could be biting a bullet on this one, but I think there's just a couple other teams that have improved where they kind of stayed more stable on where they're at as far as the positioning goes. Mm-hmm. At number 9, I have Frio. They have had a couple additions, man. They just have people injured too, like Sean Darcy. That's a very important out. I do think that their midfield is pretty good. If Caleb Sarong and Andrew Brayshaw both play their best footy, they will make the 8. Luke Ryan back there has been good for them defensively. Like, you do agree that they had decent ball movement preseason. I like seeing what they had going. But just based off how the schedule went, my AFL predictor couldn't quite put them in the 8.
All right, so getting into the bottom half of the 8, man. It's going to start right off at 8. I got Port. Home field advantage gets them a long way. Because there was a lot of games I was like, and then it was like Adelaide Oval. They're another one of those teams that just be disappointing. Like, there's games they definitely should win, and they just be not getting there. They have great players. I really like when they're all healthy. I really like all their positions as a whole, like player wise. I think they're a real put together team. They just be disappointing every year. Next, at 7, I got the Hawks. The surprise last year, making it to the 8.
For some.
For some. We have the genius over here.
Glasses.
But I think they improved a lot last year. I don't think a lot of people are going to count them out this year. I think they made a little bit of improvements. I think they're just going to continue to grow on what they've been doing. There's already a lot of young players. So I think just making it to the finals last year just is going to be such a confidence boost for them. So I'm just excited to see what they're going to do this year. At 6, I got the Demons. I think them finishing so low last year, all those injuries and everything, but seemed kind of crazy, at least since we've been watching. D's have been one of the most dominating teams at least as far as regular seasons. They usually at the top. This year, I do think they're going to get back to form a little bit. I don't think they're going to be back. I don't think they're back at that max power they was when they were, always regular season premier. I like the Demons, man. I think they're going to do their thing this year. Next, at 5, I got Geelong, just because I can't count Geelong out, man. They got the home court advantage as well. And they just Geelong. Can't never count them boys out.
Yeah. See, I want Melbourne in my 8. And before we were talking earlier, I was saying I have them around the 6 range, but that's just not where the predictor fell, bro.
Yeah.
All right, so my 8, just making the 8, I have Collingwood. They fell off just a little bit last year compared to the season before. Nick Dacos will have another stellar season. He's undoubtedly their best player. They're a team that I can't really count out either. They just give the maximum effort. They're balls to the wall, will run you out the gym, as the basketball players say. Relentless. But I do think that they're not the most talented list. Craig McCray just knows how to get a lot out of his list. So I have them sitting at 8. At 7, I have Adelaide. I think they definitely underperformed. I had higher expectations for them last season. I feel like they did not reach those expectations and they underperformed, so I'm expecting them to just play a little bit better this year. I really like Dawson as a player. Matt Crouch was looking like he was on the fringe of not even being on the AFL list, and here he is. Definitely carved a spot for him out. Riley Thilthorpe is another forward who kind of cements in his position up front. Tex Walker's still there. He's a bitch, but I mean, you just got players everywhere all over the field for them. When you said home field advantage for Port, I definitely attribute that to Adelaide too. Yeah. They have a whole round dedicated to the two teams every year now at this point, so I'm expecting them to definitely play better than they did last year and to reach higher expectations. 6, I have Sydney. I think Sydney. I think they're definitely a more talented team to be in the top 5, but I think the Errol Golden injury is a huge one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they released how much time he's going to be missing, but I think regardless, they will be missing him. I do think they still have a talented midfield. Isaac Heaney, I'm not sure if they're going to play him up front or in the midfield. He's a versatile player, but I'm not sure if he'll have as great a season as he did last year. He kind of went kind of crazy last year. It was kind of unexpected, at least for me. Chad Warner, I am expecting to have another good year. Nick Blakey. So they have talent all over the place. I do think that they'll miss Errol Golden a little bit. Won't have as great a season as they did the year before, but it's not past them. And in the 5th position, I have the Hawks. I've really been a fan of the Hawks. When they were bottom 4 the other year, I predicted them to be jumping into the top 4. I didn't expect them to really be this great, though, but the young talent that they have is really starting to bud. I really like Will Day. I'm expecting CJ to have a better year than he did. He's been injured, so I'm hoping for a clean bill of health for him. They got Tom Barras from West Coast last season, which I think their defense has been an issue. They're another balls-to-the-wall team that's really has a dangerous attacking style. They're one of the more exciting teams, and they can beat you just off the attack sometimes. So if they learn to get a structurally sound defensive system, I think that they can be a real dangerous team. So I'll have them at 5.
All right, so getting into the top 4. At 4, I got Sydney Swans. And also probably would have had them a little higher if it wasn't for Aaron Golden. I think that really only dropped them like a spot for me, maybe 2, depending on how the games go. But yeah, I think Sydney's really looking like the whole package as a team, and they're young right now. I think they're still getting better. I don't think they quite peaked yet. I think they still getting some chemistry worked out. So I think Sydney can really just be a threat. Obviously, they finished at 4. Next, we got Carlton. So them Blues, man.
I hope so, bro.
Also riddled with injuries right now. But I have faith. And I have faith because they window is closing fast. They players are at that age where it's like, if we don't win in the next few years, man, it's going to be a long time before we're ready again, in my eyes. So, yeah, Carlton, I think they're going to be under a lot of pressure this year to perform. Hopefully that translates, and hopefully they can overcome the hump that they haven't got over in quite some time. At 2, I got the other Sydney team with GWS. The Giants, also looking just like a complete team. Not too many injuries with them. Do still have some very key ones, though. But GWS, they've been looking like a threat these past few years. Also, just looking to seeming to get better with every year that goes by. It's hard to make arguments for these top teams. They all here for a reason. It can really go either way. So, at number 1, I have last year's reigning premiers coming back for the number 1 spot once more. Well, for the number 1 spot. They didn't get the number 1 spot last year. But anyways, yes, Brisbane at the top. I think they're just going to come back. I know some people like to say teams that come back champions don't play as hard. Brisbane be questionable all fucking year anyway. And it's either they going to be there at the end or they not. It's really... on paper, I think they should make it, but they don't be playing like that sometimes. So that's my predictions.
So at the 4th spot, I have Carlton. I wanted to originally place us a little lower. I think the Nick Newman injury is a very big injury. I don't think the injury is necessarily really what defines us. It's more so our effort level at times, our defending at times, our kicking skills, our entry inside 50. There's a lot of problems that we had last year that I would like to see cleaned up. Last season we started pretty strong and faltered at the end, partially because of injuries, but also for other reasons as well. So Michael Voss's coaching has come into question the past season. We should be top 4 just based off the list. We have a strong midfield. We have 2 elite forwards up front. We have an all-Australian backman back there. So there's just a lot to love about Carlton from a list perspective, but there's also a lot of growth that we can have. There are some questionable positions that I'm not sure who's about to play on the other wing on the other side of Blake Acres. Yeah, there's just a lot of questions and a lot of inconsistency with Carlton that I've seen over the last couple of years, and really just the last 5 years of me being a fan. So it's hard for me to put them at top 4, but at some point I feel like you have to crack the growing pains and grow and learn to shed bad habits. So even though we're a slow midfield, I'm hoping we know what we're going to get from Cripps, and I'm hoping Walsh bounces back from a slower year last year. He came into the season injured. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt rather than being at the 6th spot where I originally thought they were going to be at. 3, I'm going to have Port. I think Port has a very strong midfield. I think they're going to suffer from Zach Butters being out for a while. But when Jason Horner-Francis, Zach Butters, and Connor Rosie are all there and clicking, they're a really good team and a really hard team to stop. Their forwards, and the reason why earlier I said in the video I think I should have dropped them a little bit more is because their forwards have just always been questionable with Charlie Dixon and Georgiadis and Nick Marshall. They're always hurt, or somebody's always missing out of the bunch. There's always something going on. Yeah. But they got Alir back there. He disrupts a lot of entries inside 50, and so they really just have a lot to like about the team. They played strong last season. The thing with them is they just disappoint in finals a lot of the time. I think that they'll be a top 4 team for sure. 2, I have the reigning premiers in Brisbane. I think age might catch them just a little bit. Some of their stars and some of their key players are getting up there in age a little bit. They do have some younger talent as well, but I think the list is definitely strong enough. Their midfield is still hitting off full cylinders. As we seen last year, that they're just, when they get to rolling, they're just really pretty much unstoppable. So I have them at the 2 spot. Not expect them to fall off too much. And number 1, I have GWS. Despite the injury to Tom Green, I think that they're probably the most complete list. Yeah. Midfield, they just have way too much. They have the reigning Coleman leader. They have Tom Green, who's a Brownlow medalist contender. Lockie Whitfield is great from transition footy. He gets them going a lot. You have Toby Green, and there's just, you could just name off so many players that make an impact on their team. And you have Sam Taylor down back, and Jack Buckley both holding it down defensively. So they really don't have a weakness, in my opinion. Yeah. I think they've been peppering, if you will, and flirting with the grand final, and I think this is the year that they can actually get it done this year.
A quick little comparison of the list. I don't know.
There's some major changes.
The biggest difference probably the Crows and
the Dogs.
The Dogs.
And the Crows. Yeah, Crows.
Because I got Crows them at the bottom. You got to make it the 8.
I think they were a little trash last year. They shouldn't have been as bad as they were.
It was funny because when I did the predictor, they definitely was a lot higher for me.
He said, "Nah, get your ass down there."
Yeah, because it was like, "Ooh, bro, North needs to go up." I was like, West Coast gonna go up, and then it's like somebody in the 8 don't belong in this bitch, and then.
Sometimes it's just the game difference too. The games won compared to last year. Like if you make the competition tight on the predictor, all it takes is one game to shift like 3-4 different teams.
For sure. Shit, you got a Coleman leader this year?
Coleman leader.
Coleman medalist.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Jesse Hogan wins it again, man. But I think I'll say if Carlton can actually get some decent entries inside 50 and not bomb the ball on top of Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay, it can go to either one of those. But I'm not about to put my stocks in that, so I guess at the moment I will have to go Jesse Hogan again.
Yeah, I was definitely leaning towards Jesse Hogan. He, even last year with winning, he was still like one of the most accurate kicks.
Yeah.
So he definitely has a good chance. Only other person I see really is Jeremy Cameron. I think Jeremy Cameron, if he shoots more, he'll have a chance. But I was looking at the stats. Jeremy Cameron got more score involvements. But Jesse got more goals.
We gotta count into them injuries that he be having every little niggles that he has every so often as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so one of them two for sure. Probably lean towards Jesse as well. About Brownlow.
Brownlow, I hate to say it, bro. But I think that boy Nick Dacos about to win the Brownlow this year.
Oh,
man. I would hate for it to happen as a Carlton man, but he just makes too much of an impact on the game, and he was that close, and people were saying that he got snubbed last year and Cripps shouldn't have got it or whatever the case is, but I do think Cripps is going to put up some numbers as well to be up there, but I think they're going to give it to that boy,
Dacos.
Yeah, Nick Dacos.
Yeah, all right, so I definitely wanted to see some new names in here, so my pick for Brownlow this year is going to be Isaac Heaney. I think so. Last year was his first year in the midfield, and I think this year, I think he did nothing but hone his midfield skill last year, and obviously I'm just all for growth, I guess. But yeah, I think he's gonna really, find his place and really do what he needs to do to step up his game. My backup option for Brownlow, throw Petrarca in there. Fuck it, man. These, I think they about to be under construction. I think they need something to really, lock them in together. I think Petrarca going to be that person. So if he does that, I can see him running away with the Brownlow this year.
Be interesting. Well, Bont's already out of discussion.
Yeah.
Golden's already out of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on how long Tom Green's out. He'll be out of discussion. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to be there at the end of the season.
Yeah,
eligible.
I meant to say Golden for the Isaac Heaney argument too. But hell yeah. Shit. Anything else for the video, man?
Go Carlton.
Shit, West Coast all day, every day, man. I like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube shit, man. We back this year.
If you want to join the tipping comp, we'll have the tipping comp in the link of the bio as well. So if you're keen to do that, we'll welcome you in open arms.
Hell yeah. Other than that, man, y'all catch us live. Y'all catch our round reviews, our game reviews, all that shit. Hell yeah.